super excited, Russell. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
So we were talking a little bit before the cameras heated up, and you're in a really interesting spot. So privately owned, multiple locations, right? Upwards of 60 locations, 1,500 employees, 3.5 HR folk.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about your arc in HR with the company. So where you started, where you are, what roles people play, and how you're making $1 out of 15 cents with respect to stretching a 3.5-man team over 1,500 people across 58 locations.
Yeah, so I started in at the company as an HR generalist, was in operations, restaurants my entire career, operations, district manager, regional, all the way up, mostly coffee, but
Yeah.
I kind of got to the point where I'm just working, never had time for my family, kids were getting older, you know, I love the HR aspect of the operation part of my job, the people, so I went into HR, and then as I was in it a little bit, went to this company, hired in as a generalist, moved my way up, 3 promotions, and now the director of human resources.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Must be doing something right.
I think so. We're, you know, I started at the company with about 24 locations.
Wow.
We are
So you watched them more than double.
Yeah, so we're at 58. Should be hitting
In
our
6 years.
Yeah.
Woo-wee!
Should be hitting our 60th location this year.
Yeah.
Definitely. Kind of puts
How
us.
many states are you guys in?
We're in 3 currently.
Okay.
So California, Arizona, and Nevada.
Okay. And as you branch into those states, you have to learn, obviously, we need a nexus there,
Yep.
we need to learn.
Yep, and we're going to be going into the East Coast.
Yeah.
So there's a few more states we're researching right now too.
Yep.
Yeah, so learning all that stuff is.
And specifically within your role, you mentioned that you oversee risk, much of HR, but specifically risk?
Yeah, risk is kind of where, you know, you get into HR, there's a million avenues you can go. Obviously, I love employee relations, helping people out, but an area I really shined was in the risk, safety, building the safety programs, kind of, you know, saving money on premiums, building
Because for those of you that maybe are slightly initiated or under-initiated, at the end of the day on your workers' comp premium, they go, all right, what all should you pay, what all should you owe, and the last thing they do is hit you with that multiplier, right? Your experience modification. If you're, you know, supposed to pay $1 million, for example, and they modify it by 1.0, you pay $1 million.
Yep.
But if you've got better claims experience, it might be multiplied by 0.8. Now all of a sudden you're paying $800,000. Or conversely, 2x, 250. I mean, those experience models can get up. So when you look at claims experience, and the ability to put downward pressure on that, you are hard $1 saving money for the employer.
Yep. It's people don't usually think about HR and the way we can save money or even bring money into the company, but coming from operations, I see that, and I think one of my biggest jobs is to get the operators to see the HR side of it, because I see their side, so I understand, you know, when we're trying to bring something new, a new program, and they're like, where do we find time for that? You know, we got to make money, we got to bring dollars to the bottom, so you got to get them to understand, but they think in dollars. So you got to translate what you're doing into dollars. This slip and fall. Let's analyze how much this costs us. So, you know, you break it all down. One little cut on a finger could end up costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars if it's not done right.
Why aren't they wearing their gloves? Don't they fit right? Do we need to walk around? Do managers need to look out for this stuff?
Exactly. So trying to figure out programs where they understand the monetary, you know, aspect of what you're trying to do. You know, that goes a long way, especially in the safety world. Restaurants, you're moving. You're not thinking about that, but once you get them to start thinking about it, it's second nature. So that's kind of, long story short, that's where you know, I'm able to see that and able to put that into place.
So it sounds like you guys cleared the hurdle on this fairly easily, which then makes me want to ask you, what is keeping you up at night, right? What is some of the challenges in your role, or even from your 2 eyes when you look at the craft of HR today in 2024? What's kind of bubbling to the surface with respect to that?
Huge hurdle is really getting the buy-in before you do anything.
From up top, down below, both?
I think both. Up top, the field operations, number one.
Yeah.
I can get the buy-in of the up top pretty easy.
Yeah.
But getting the managers in the restaurants that have to make that food, that have to sell that food and make that money to be able to be profitable to, keep my job.
Yeah.
They got to understand the why behind the reason.
You mentioned out in the field, and that reminds me, right? Some HR people, maybe it's one location and everyone's under this roof. Some HR people, maybe everything's remote. You guys presumably have a corporate office, but then a bunch of, other, operations that you need to go out and see for you. And I don't even know if you've arrived at the right mix yet, but what is your thoughts on the right mix of in the field time and in office time, and how do you balance that when you need to be in both places at once?
It's not easy. Like for tomorrow, I have to be in Rialto before I'm here.
Yeah.
So it's you got to manage your time very wisely. But it's to me, if I had it my way, I'd be in the field all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's different than most HR because I grew up in the field.
Yeah.
I was a server, I was a cook, I was a general manager, regional manager, oversaw all operations. So I've been in every position.
Yeah.
So it's important for HR to be there because there's such a disconnect between corporations and the people that actually give you the job in your corporation. So if you're not spending time with them, if you're not dealing with them, if you're not understanding them or their culture or any of that, you're not doing any favors to them, to yourself, to your company. So being in the field for HR is extremely important, knowing your people. And I think, eventually as we get more people in right now, every Friday is my dedicated time in the field.
Yeah.
I don't get it every Friday, but I try. I try. And I tell everybody, if you call me, you need me there, I'm there. I don't care what I'm doing, I'm there.
That really fosters the right culture. And I kind of hear you saying there's no substitute for being in the field, but as a secondary to being in the field, what are other ways that you can kind of bridge that disconnect when you can't physically be there that you have found successful?
You got to have partnerships with operations here. Our COO is an amazing partner with us. He might not like everything, but he understands and will help roll things out. Or if we, have to discharge somebody that, may be a great operator but not good with people, he will get it. He will understand. So having partnerships and the relationships, you might not see eye to eye, but you have to have the understanding. And when you have that understanding, then you can get work done out in the field without being out in the field.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate you sharing your wisdom so much, dude. It's just so, especially when you talk about your background and your track. Every once in a while you sit down with someone that's like, everything I've ever touched, the people around me know I'm kicking butt at, and that's why I've been from here to here to here to here, but I've never forgotten all these other roles, and I bring them into what I'm doing today. And I think that that's such a valuable kind of head on your shoulders. So your organization's lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
There seems to be a suspicious vision in every little decision that's made.